So before I get to the season preview, where I'm going to be talking about Charlotte FC and their expansion season, I just wanted to quickly talk about the game between the United States versus El Salvador, which, by the way, for the first time in this World Cup qualifying octagonal, I'm actually not going to be doing a review on a U.S. men's national team game in the World Cup qualifier, and a lot of that mainly due to the fact that I was at work pretty much all day and I wasn't able to watch the game while I was at work. I did watch the highlights of that game, and all I'll say is that I know there's going to be a lot of U.S. fans, and especially those Doomers, that is not going to be happy about this win with the way that it just feels like they were not convincing enough in terms of getting this victory against El Salvador. But all I'll say is that, after watching the highlights, I think the U.S. deserved to get all 3 points, and that I think they were very unlucky to not score 2 or 3 goals in that game. I mean, they had plenty of chances in that game. And sure, yes, some of those chances, of course, were missed, but also some of those chances was because of an incredible performance by that El Salvadorian goalkeeper that just makes some big save throughout the game. But overall, I'm also going to reiterate what I've always said whenever the U.S. gets a victory as ugly as what we saw in that game against El Salvador. Well, actually, ugly isn't really the right word, because I don't think it was an ugly win. I think it was a win where the U.S. were able to find that crucial goal to get all 3 points. But what I'll reiterate is that, in the World Cup qualifier, it's not always going to be pretty, and you're going to have games where you have a bunch of chances, but you just didn't have your shooting boots on. But at the end of the day, after the 90 minutes, if you get the 3 points, and especially get 3 points at home in a CONCACAF World Cup qualifying octagonal, that's considered a success, because it is a grind in this World Cup qualifier. And, knowing the fact that we know Mexico, of course, got a victory against Jamaica, and then Canada got the victory against Honduras. I haven't checked on the Panama versus Costa Rica game just yet, but I know the team that the U.S. are closest in terms of the standings, all of them, of course, win. So there was a lot of pressure that the U.S. needs to get all 3 points in that game against El Salvador, and they did exactly that. And we'll see in the game against Canada, where that's going to be a big showdown. I mean, that could be a true test of the fact that, I know Canada is going to be a little bit short-handed coming in to that game. I mean, they're not going to have Alphonso Davies, but they also are not going to have Estadio in that midfield, which that is definitely going to be a big blow for the Canadian national team in that midfield. But still, it is a very talented Canadian national team's squad, and that I expect there should be some good battle in that match in Hamilton on Sunday. And I, of course, will do a season or not season preview, but a review of that game, because I don't have to work on Sunday, and I, of course, will do the review of that game once that game, of course, concluded. But now, let's get back to talking about Charlotte FC in terms of their expansion season. And I'm going to do something a little bit different, because obviously with Charlotte FC being in the league for their first season, there's not going to be the talks about what happened last season, because they were a team of course last season, but was just kind of organized for this expansion year, and they didn't even play last year. So yeah, there's obviously no record to keep of, and obviously I'm not going to do the last 5 seasons, because they haven't been in the league for that long, and being in the league for the very first time. I mean, it's pretty obvious kind of information to share with you guys. So rather than that, I'm just going to look at the current roster that they, of course, have built, and I'm pretty sure they are going to still sign some guys into this roster. So, what you see here in the current roster might not be completely done yet. But in terms of the goalkeeping position, you got Pablo Cesiaga from LAFC, Christian Kalina from Ludogorets, Adrian Zandic from Minnesota, and then George Marks that they picked up in the Super Draft. I think it was either the second or third round that they picked him up in the Super Draft. But either way, my guess is most likely it could be a battle between Cesiaga and Kalina for that starting spot. Like, I feel like maybe Kalina is going to get it, knowing the fact that he was a starting goalkeeper with a team that have been in the Champions League, that is Ludogorets. But Cesiaga could potentially challenge that spot, because we know Pablo Cesiaga had some game time with LAFC. On albeit he did kind of lost his job last season with LAFC. He knows that when he comes to this team, he's not there to play as backup role. He's there to try to get a starting spot with an MLS team once again, and it will be very interesting to see who exactly is going to be the starting goalkeeper for the Charlotte FC team. And don't be surprised, maybe they might even change up the starting goalkeeper throughout the years. Now in defense, you got some very notable names in Harrison Offal from Columbus, Anton Walks from Atlanta United, one of the expansion draft pick that they of course selected. Then they of course got Jalen Lindsay from Sporting KC, Christian McCoon from Inter Miami, and then Guzman Corojo from Nacional, Jan Sinitsky from LKS Łódź, and then you got Adam Armour from FC Nuremberg. And then one of the earliest signings that they of course made, and probably the biggest name out of this team that is not an MLS player, is Christian Fruch, a player that was a veteran and part of that miraculous 2015 Premier League winning season with Leicester City coming into this team this season. Now in the midfield, you got Brent Bronico, which was one of the earliest signing that Charlotte FC of course made, and him coming back to his hometown and has been playing in the second division with Charlotte Independence before preparing for the expansion to join this team for their expansion season. Then you got Jordi Alcevar from LDU Quito, and then you got the first signing in Charlotte FC history, Sergio Ruiz. Still is going to be joining this team after spending a year on loan with Las Palmas. And then you got Alan Franco, and no, this is not the Alan Franco from Atlanta United, but the Alan Franco from down in Argentina, and of course was playing with Independiente before joining Charlotte FC. Then you got Chris Hergert, who of course was with Tacoma Defiance, part of the Seattle Sounders youth team, joining this team. And then you have the number one draft pick of the Super Draft this season in Ben Bender joining this team. Now in the forward group, you got Jordi Reyna from DC United, Mackenzie Gaines from Austin FC, their first pick in the expansion draft this season. So then you got Vinicius Melo from Internacional, Kyle Holcomb from the Super Draft, and then recently they added Karol Svititsky from PAOK just not long ago. So this is of course the current roster for Charlotte FC this season, and again it will definitely change throughout these next couple of weeks, because I have a feeling they're not done in terms of building their squad ahead of that first game of the season against DC United. Now the optimism for Charlotte FC and certainly for their fans, well, it's the first year for this team, and I think their fans will understand that. I kind of had a feeling Charlotte FC is going to be one of those teams that maybe they're just happy to be here. They're not going to be kind of like the Atlanta United or LAFC, where there's going to be expectation that they're going to get their expansion year started in the right way and making the playoffs. No, I think this team could be kind of like that Minnesota United or even that FC Cincinnati kind of a team. Though I will say that when FC Cincinnati came into the league, there was definitely big expectation knowing what the previous two expansion team does. But yeah, I think for Charlotte FC, there's really no expectation with the way that, even when you look at the roster that they made, there is definitely a lot of question with this roster, and especially it feels like, I guess, they tried to build a team that is similar to Nashville SC, where it's like they focus on the defense a lot, and you see a lot of notable MLS veteran player on that defense, and that I can think that this could potentially be one of the best backline with some of these guys like Harrison Offal, Anton Walks, and Jalen Lindsay, guys that have been proven to be very good defender for their MLS team before joining Charlotte FC as an expansion team. But then you of course look at the midfield, and especially going forward on the attack, that's when there is definitely some big question mark, and rightfully so. I feel like for the past couple of expansion team came into the league, there's always that question of where's the goals going to come in for this team, and do they have enough on the attack to of course survive in their first season in MLS. But like I said, this is a team that I feel like they're just happy to be here, and they're being very patient, especially with how this front office is running this team, of trying to make the right signing. And if things doesn't work out, then there's always that summer transfer window where they can figure it out. The back line, as I mentioned, it definitely look strong, in that I won't be surprised if this team has one of the best defensive record because of how many good players and how many proven MLS defender in this team. And yeah, I think that's going to be one thing that is going to be a big strength coming for this team heading into expansion year. Now, the concern for Charlotte FC, well, obviously, I kind of also mentioned it before, where's the creativity is going to come from this team. Now, I would say maybe Sergio Ruiz is going to be that guy, but I don't know if he's going to be the main number 10 or even playing in that position. So then you got to question, like, who's going to be the number 10 in this team, and who's going to be basically pulling the string in terms of providing the assist for this team. Because it's one thing that, I know that they of course sign a DP number 9 in care instead of Stitsky, which that is also the next question of, can he be the goal scoring DP of this team? That is the reason why they made him a designated player. And one thing I will say is that, in order for him to of course be that goal scoring DP and that guy that can score like 10 to 15 goals in this league, he needs service. And that's where the big question comes in. Like, where's the service is going to come from? Because they really don't have a lot of guys that I can say that they are going to be the creativity, and they're going to be the heart and soul in that number 10 role of really pulling the string up on the attack. But that being said, that I won't be surprised that as the season goes on, we might see someone that I didn't expect to be that guy to really pull the strings on the attack, and he turns out to be it. Or maybe in the summer transfer window, when they do spend their second or third DP on that number 10 role, that they of course will find that guy. And then lastly, the thing that is going to be a concern is the growing pains of the expansion year. And again, I think Charlotte FC fans, I know they're excited to come to MLS, and that maybe some will say that they hope that this team of course will make it to the playoffs in their first season. I don't know. It is obviously very, very tough to make it to playoffs. I mean, there's a reason why only 17 in MLS history that come in as an expansion team made it to the playoffs. And most of the team that, of course, made it to the playoffs, they're not like finished like in the top 3 spot. Like the team that, of course, finished the highest in their expansion year was LAFC. But we kind of knew that LAFC had a really decent team, and it really show in their expansion season before finishing 3rd place. And even Atlanta United, of how successful that they were in their expansion year, they only finished in 4th place, and they also had their struggle at least in their first year. So yeah, there's going to be some growing pains, and that I expect this team is not going to be a team that's going to win a lot of games in the beginning, but as things goes, you could see that maybe we're going to see this team be a little bit more competitive. Because again, I just feel like with how the front office is building this team, it's almost kind of like a month by month kind of basis, where they're just going to test this out and see how the squad is going to go, and if it doesn't work out, then they'll definitely change it up during the summer transfer window. And while that of course is definitely a good thing to do, that means you're also going to be sacrificed half of the season. And when you sacrifice half of the season by testing things out and not winning a lot of games, then yeah, you're not going to be a playoff team. And that's why, again, I said that there's going to be that growing pains, and that growing pains could be in that first half of the season. Now, MVP for this team, this is kind of tough, but I guess, you know what? I'm just going to go with the big name, Christian Fuchs. I think he's going to be the leader of that back line, and, he's going to be the guy that can also bring a very good locker room presence to this expansion team. Because after all, he's been through it all, and he's also been through a championship winning kind of team. So I think he's going to give that veteran presence and leadership in terms of this team. I mean, in terms of him being leader in the back line, yeah, I think he could be a decent defender even at his age that he is approaching in his mid 30s. And usually when you're a defender and you're approaching that age, you start to kind of fall off a little bit. But I have no doubt that Fuchs is going to be decent for this team. And again, besides him, I really couldn't quite think of who is going to be the guy that is going to be the go-to guy coming into this Charlotte FC team. Now, for comeback player for this team, now I know last season, usually for comeback player, I usually choose a player that kind of struggled last season, but is going to definitely break out this year and have a good comeback. And even though Charlotte FC, they didn't play their previous season, I'm going to go with one guy that, last season that was playing with an MLS team and kind of was struggling last year, but I'm thinking that they're going to have a big year this year. And that guy is Jalen Lindsey, who, I think I've said this before, if Jalen Lindsey is healthy, he's easily one of the best fullbacks in the league. And the problem is, if he's healthy. I mean, most of the times he's been spending more time on the IR, and he's just very injury prone. And this is also kind of the reason why maybe Sporting KC did let him go, because they think that he's just kind of too injury prone, that he's not worth the risk. And for Charlotte FC, they definitely will know the risk, the fact that they're gonna have to trying to maybe maintain his minutes, and especially trying their best to keep him healthy, because again, it just feels like he spent so many time on the IR, no matter what season it is. But I just have a feeling maybe this year he is going to get healthy, and again, when he's healthy, he's easily one of the best fullback in this league. And then expectation for the Charlotte FC team heading into expansion year, I mean, just enjoy life in the top tier. I mean, again, there's really no expectation of this team. If this team finished last in the Eastern Conference, I don't think their fans are going to be terribly upset. I mean, as long as they don't finish as the wooden spoon winner, which, they might have some good battles with FC Cincinnati in terms of that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to really roast FC Cincinnati in a video that they're not even involved in. Plus, when I do talk about FC Cincinnati in the season preview, there's going to be some good things that I of course, would say about them, other than them being three-time wooden spoon winner for the past 3 years. But I think, again, as long as this team doesn't win the wooden spoon, I think it's going to be considered a successful year, and that's just kind of how it is for an expansion team, especially for an expansion team that is trying to kind of test things out before eventually figuring things out. And then be a respectable team that can be hard to beat and easily underestimated as the season goes along. Again, as the season goes along, when they do build a more competitive team, I won't be surprised they could be a team that could be hard to beat. And especially with the way that, again, this is a team that, when I look at the roster, it's giving me a lot of Nashville SC kind of vibe, where it's heavily focused on the defense. And we know that with Nashville SC and in their expansion year, and also last season, that team was a team that is very hard to beat if you're in all position, because of how good they play defensively, and also could be easily underestimated too. I mean, especially in the expansion year, people thought that it was going to be a walkover when they play Nashville SC, and it turns out that was just not the case. So we'll see whether if Charlotte can potentially do that heading into their expansion year. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video. And if you're a Charlotte FC fan, first of all, welcome to MLS, and enjoy life in MLS, where there's going to be some crazy things, and also get used to potentially getting screwed over by referee, because I think that's one thing that I've always wanted to kind of welcome fans of a team that is coming into the league, that as many good things you will see in this league, you're also going to see some very bad things. And one of the bad things that I've always said about MLS is the referees and the VAR, and pretty much pro in general, of how it's been incompetent. And if you get screwed over by a call, then yeah, that's just part of the MLS experience, and almost kind of like, welcome to MLS. This is basically how life is going to work. But nevertheless, let me know in the comments below what you guys' optimism, your concern, and most importantly, your expectation, which probably isn't going to be that big, but still, let me know in the comments below what your expectation for this team heading into their expansion season. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.